morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Atsuki. I have studied economics for 2 years in Japan before I came here. And my major will be business economics after the MCI program. Today, I have the pleasure of sharing this important topic, which is the economic impact of the Olympics. So let me ask you a question first. So do you know which city is holding the next Summer Olympics? Yes. Tokyo is holding the next Summer Olympics in 2020. When I heard the news about telling that Tokyo will be the next host city, I was so excited. And this picture was taken at the moment when Tokyo was announced to be the host city. Look how they are so excited. The man in the middle is the Prime Minister of Japan, Mr. Abe. He said the joy was even greater than when he won his own election.
Wow.
So imagine that when your home country hosts the Olympics, the new buildings and new facilities will be built, and the athlete will visit your hometown, and you can watch the games. Isn't it exciting? Although there are a lot of positive aspects of the Olympics, are you aware what some of the facilities look like a few years after the Olympics? Let me show you a video about how they look like today. So as you can see from this video, a lot of countries have troubles maintaining the facilities after the Olympics. This situation, the reason why this situation is happening is because of the high maintenance cost, and those facilities, they're rarely used after the event. And as you can imagine, it is so hard to easily dispose of huge stadiums. So the government just abandoned them. But the government spent a large amount of money to build those facilities. Do you know the amount of money they actually spent for the Olympics? This chart shows the cost for the last 7 Summer Olympics. And the light blue shows the initial cost, and dark blue shows the overrun cost. They all overspend the money, which means the Olympic is extensively expensive. So it is important that the Olympic will leave a favorable impact on the economy. But today, I would like to argue that the Tokyo Olympic will cause a negative impact on the economy because it will lead to a deficit, it will cause troubles maintaining the facilities after the event, it will also negatively affect tourism. So now, let's look at my first main point. The first reason why the Tokyo Olympic will cause a negative impact on the economy is because it will lead to the deficit. Now let's look at how much money the government is going to spend for the Olympics and how much money they can earn from it. According to the Tokyo Organizing Olympic Committee, the revenue will be $5.6 billion. On the other hand, the cost for the Olympics is ballooning. In 2013, at the bidding, the government said the cost will be $6.8 billion. But in 2017, it became $15.4 billion. And now, it became the $28.9 billion. That's a huge difference. The reason why the cost continues to grow is that the government underestimate the cost, and they use money for most for the construction. According to the article, the government, they tend to underestimate the complexity of a mega event, leading to cost overruns and delays. So the cost is much greater than the revenue. The deficit will be negative $23.3 billion. In spite of the fact that the Olympic would cause a deficit, some researchers who support the Olympics pointed out there will be the positive impacts on the economy. According to the metropolitan government of Tokyo, the economic benefit as a whole nation will be $285.3 billion. And Olympic will create 1.49 million jobs. So based on their research, the government were able to earn a huge profit from the Olympics, and it will make up the deficit. However, this research has a problem. Because this research was done by the government, they made it seem favorable, and they actually ignored the substitution effect, which means there are economic benefit in industries that are related to the Olympics, but there are also decrease in the industries that are not related to the Olympics. Because when people spend money for the Olympics, they're not spending money in their local communities. So what they did in research is that they just ignored the downturn in some industries, so the actual impact cannot be huge. So according to the Bed and Matheson, who study economic impacts of the Olympics, they said, if one wishes to know the true economic impacts of an event, take whatever numbers the promoters are touting and move the decimal point one place to the left. So maybe you think that this quote is exaggerated, but when we look at the examples from the past Olympics, it might be true. Wow. So Munich, Atlanta, Sydney, and Salt Lake City, they all had expected Olympic would bring the huge economic impacts, but after the event, it turned out the actual economic impact was zero or only fractional. This research was only available for those countries, so the list could be longer. Therefore, the cost for the Olympics exceeds the revenue, and it continues to grow, and huge economic benefit cannot be expected. So the Olympic would cause a deficit. So far, I've talked about the cost for the Olympics. Now I would like to focus on the construction for the Olympics. Hosting the Olympics requires very specialized sports facilities, and government spent $7.6 billion for only construction. How many of you have heard the sports called canoe slalom? Thank you. So this picture is the canoe slalom. This sport needs a really specialized facilities because they have to make the water flows. And unlike the other sports facilities like soccer field, these facilities cannot be used for other sports activities or concert or conventions. And they are only for the Olympics. So building facilities is expensive, but maintaining the facilities is expensive too. So the government is building 7 new facilities for the Olympics, but after the event, they will cause a deficit. The Bureau of Tokyo Olympic and Paralympic 2020 preparation reported the revenue and maintenance costs for the 6 newly built facilities in Tokyo Bay Area. They reported those facilities will earn $2.2 million as a revenue, but the maintenance cost will be $2.5 million per year. So the deficit will be negative $0.3 million. Although they will cause a deficit after the event, some major critique pointed out the investment for construction causes a positive impact on the economy. According to the Osada et al., the Olympic will create 700,000 additional jobs, and as a consequence of it, it will stimulate the spending behavior. And according to Capstone and Atsuki, the stadiums will be a symbol. So after the Olympics, Japanese people can proud of stadiums as a symbol of the Olympics. So according to their research, the investment for construction will lead to economic boost. While the point that the Olympic will create additional jobs is true, but 700,000 additional jobs might be too much. Because they use an inappropriate model, which is called the input-output model, which is long established and widely applied techniques in economics. And researchers use this model to specify the final demands, such as consumer or export and import. But this model is for the long run model, which means the Olympic is too short to use this model. Casimari stated about the using of the input-output model to specify the final demands of Olympics, saying the researchers will fail to consider the factors that affect the economy and tend to result in miscalculating the multiplier values. Therefore, building and maintaining the facilities are expensive, and they will cause troubles maintaining facilities after the Olympics. Now I would like to move on my last point. The third reason why the Tokyo Olympic will cause a negative impacts on economy is that the Olympic will negatively affect tourism. Although many politicians believe that the Olympic will boost the tourism, and that is the biggest reason why they want to host the Olympics, actually during the Olympics, the number of foreign visitors will decrease, or there is no decrease in the number of them, because they're concerned about congestion. So the tourists will decrease, and tourism revenue also decrease, and eventually it will negatively affect the economy. So there is a research which studied about the international air passengers on 6 former host cities, and they reported the result shows no measurable effect on international passengers volume from the Olympics at the time of the event, and no observable change in trend until 16 months post-Olympics. So this is called the crowding out effect, which means decrease in the number of visitors who would come to visit a country if there were no Olympics. In spite of the fact that they all experience no measurable effect on international air passengers, some researchers pointed out the Olympic will lead to positive impacts on tourism as for the long term. Because the Olympic is broadcasted across the world, it is good opportunities for host cities to advertise themselves. And Olympic would make a famous destination. Barcelona and Salt Lake City are the examples of the successful cities. They received the tourism positive impacts from Olympic after the event. And this is called the hidden gem effect, which means they have the potential to be famous destination for many tourists before the Olympics, and Olympic made it famous. So this hidden gem effect worked for Tokyo? Unfortunately, the answer is no. Because Tokyo is already a popular destination for many tourists. And actually, Tokyo shared 46 international air passengers in Japan. So which means half of the tourists who visit Japan go to Tokyo. Bed Matheson stated about the hidden gem effect. They said this strategy won't necessarily work for any other potential host cities. And the Olympic itself cannot be the factor that boosts the tourism, because the weakened yen or tax exemption system for foreign tourists are the factors that actually boost the tourism. also, therefore, the Tokyo is already a popular destination for many tourists, and the Olympic will cause a negative impact on the economy. To conclude, today I talked about the economic impacts of Tokyo Olympics. The Tokyo Olympic will cause a negative impact on the economy because it will lead to a deficit, it will cause troubles maintaining facilities, and also it will negatively affect tourism. Making the Olympics successful is important, but making the favorable legacy of the event last longer is the most crucial thing that the government should work on. So before it is too late, the government should take countermeasures to prevent the economic crisis. Lastly, I would like to say that it is likely that the Tokyo Olympic will cause a negative impact on the economy. I hope that the Tokyo Olympic will leave a positive impact on people's mind, especially who suffered from the natural disasters such as earthquake and tsunami that happened the past few years. Thank you for listening, and now I take questions.
I was wondering, so if the government can reuse the facilities for the Olympic in 2019? 2020, sorry, 2020, yeah.
Did you say that?
If they can reuse the facilities for today and they cannot use them now, but if they can reuse them for 2020, the facilities.
The facilities they're building, or
No, the
facilities
facilities
existing?
or
They're building?
no, the facilities that you show that they don't use them anymore. If they can reuse them.
Yes. The reason why they just abandon them is because of the high maintenance cost. Because it's good for the countries to reuse the facilities, but it's difficult to maintain. It costs a lot to maintain that, and the usage fee is kind of expensive, so not many people want to use them.
I have a couple questions. Prime Minister Abe is a pretty smart guy. You think so? Well, in other words, he has seen the reports, the economic reports, right?
Yes.
The similar arguments that you've made. Why is the Japanese government, why are they so excited? There must be some reason why they think this is going to be a positive impact to Japan.
The government wants made it seems favorable, but some articles said that the government wants to host the Olympics because this is an excuse for spending a lot of money for construction, because they got money from construction industries. So the Olympic can be the main excuse for using a lot of money for construction.
So if you were there, you would not be cheering.
I want to cheer the. I want to enjoy the Olympics,
Yes.
but as a perspective of the financial, I would really. They have to they should have another plan for the Olympics.
I want to ask you a question about the 2008 Olympics, the Beijing Olympics. I'm an old guy, but when I was a kid, the mothers in America would say, "Eat all your vegetables. There are starving people in China." Do you know what I mean? So the American perception was that China was a poor country. Then, about 15 years ago, we started getting more students, and my students would say, "We are a developing country." After the Olympics, with all the investment and the perception and a lot of American companies working there, I don't think anyone in America is looking at China and saying it's not developed. They think it's the top world-class country, the second largest economy. Don't you think the 2008 Olympics had a big reason why a lot of American investors want to work in China?
I think the Beijing could be one of the successful city because the Olympic made it famous. Like to China shows like they are able to host a huge mega event. So for Beijing, I think that the Olympic may leave favorable legacies of the cities.
So you opened up your presentation with a picture of celebration. So my question is, the idea of being chosen for Tokyo, that value of being chosen from all the other countries all around the world, do you think that value is something that you can put a number of value to? I know the whole research is about the financial downfall, which is something that the government should consider. But what about this idea of being chosen from all the countries around the world? Is there do you think that could maybe counter take care of that? It's like it balances out the financial deficit, maybe? Is that a possibility?
I hope that's what I hope. Like, for financially, it will be like economic crisis or like in other perspectives, like a lot of because of the Olympics, the transportation system will be like improved, and so there are a lot of positive aspects that from the Olympics. So I hope that will much greater than the economic.
Okay, last question.
Can you a little bit clarify? Like you said that when that's like makes negative impact on tourists, but the more tourists go into Japan, and I think I feel like it's good for economy. Like I don't know why you say like it's negative impact on tourists.
Tourism.
Yeah, tourism. Yeah, sorry.
Because actually during the Olympics, a lot of people, so the travelers whose purpose is not for the Olympics avoid visiting Tokyo during the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
So during the Olympics, it will negatively affect the tourism. Like because they'll because the number of the tourists will decrease, and the revenue from the tourism will decrease too.
Okay, thank you very much.